Welcome to today's webinar, Unleashing the Power of App Promotion, your strategies for success for marketing and promoting your application. Couple of quick housekeeping rules. Everyone is going to be on mute, but please feel free at any point to submit any questions, and we'll get to those at the end. We've allocated a few minutes at the end. The webinar will last 25-ish minutes with a few minutes at the end for questions, as I mentioned. So today, what are we going to be covering and who are you going to be hearing from? So myself, I'm Kyle Appleton, Head of Account Management here at Fliplet, and you'll be hearing from my colleague, Felipe Garcia, who's also an account manager here at Fliplet. So first of all, we're going to run through the agenda for today's webinar. So we're going to real brief overview of Fliplet for anyone that's not familiar with the product, but that'll only be a minute or two. Then we're going to jump into app launch and promotion, then into engagement, so making sure that you're engaging with your users and making your application vital to the way that they work and the processes or the information that they're absorbing. Then we're going to talk about user feedback and then move on to app reviews. So that's something that we do with our clients, reviewing their applications. And then really briefly, right at the end, give you an overview of the webinars that are coming up. So to kick off, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Felipe, who's going to talk to you for a couple of minutes about Fliplet.
Thank you, Kyle. So let's talk a little bit about Fliplet. As it says on the slide here, Fliplet makes it very simple to develop apps. Technically, if you work with PowerPoint, you can develop an app within our studio. The studio is designed in a drag and drop fashion. And basically what this means is it allows anybody, regardless of technical ability, to build an app within the studio. You can choose to use one of our templated solutions, add code to it or not, really. Our templated solutions range from something as robust as a directory to something as simple as a approval process. And some other examples include project management solutions, event solutions, emergency management solutions, capacity management solutions, training and development, and others. We also have a resource center that allows you to basically leverage the tools available to you. And if you are comfortable with coding, we do have developer tools and documents that you can use. Now let's talk a little bit about the app creation process. The app creation process is divided within three main stages, basically build, launch, and improve. For the sake of this webinar, we are going to be focusing on the marketing, engagement, and communication phases of the launch and improve stages. But I'll walk you very briefly through the entire process. Basically, you start by identifying a use case. What is an app useful for me or my organization? Then you jump into developing your app. During these stage, you definitely want to collaborate with others, people in your team, other stakeholders, to make sure you make your app unique and make sure that it's serving the purpose that you need it to. Then from there, you jump onto integrating with your existing systems and security to make sure you're comfortable with the information that you're sharing. We always recommend testing before releasing to the stores or internally. So definitely going to the testing stage where you gather feedback from your testers, make the improvements. Once the improvements are done, then you can release it, like I said, whether internally or through the app stores. And then you jump into the maintenance, which is basically fixing any bugs and making sure that you're adding relevant content constantly to keep your people engaged. Now, if we talk about mobile apps, there's some of the benefits here. There's quick access. They have built-in sharing with apps within your phone. This includes, stuff like email, social media, access to camera, GPS, even QR code scanning. When it comes to web apps, there's no third-party accounts required. Also access to your camera if you have a camera available. There's push notifications, which Kyle is going to touch on a little bit later as part of the promotion piece as well. And the design has been optimized for both web and mobile, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, when it comes to our platform, it is completely cloud-based, and we provide data and file storage. Aside from the pre-built templates, you also have screens that you can add to the templates to make sure you make it unique. And make sure that you're gathering the information you need to make the impact that you want to make with your app. Now, we have extensive security rules as well. If you want to do an update, you can do it from inside the app itself. If you're interested in e-commerce, we do that via Stripe as well. And one key thing that I always recommend to my clients is using our analytics suite to keep track of the performance of the app. Now, when it comes to integration, we provide single JavaScript API to avoid any duplicate code. JavaScript middleware to manage Apple, Android, and different web browsers, full REST API access, as well as public technical documentation. So if you want to review the documents, they are available. Now, what can we integrate with? The honest truth is pretty much anything. The only thing we need to do is have a conversation with you to understand what is happening on the back end. Once that's clear, we will help you build that bridge so that you can share information. But some of the examples of previous integrations that we've done include Litera Foundation, IQ, Workday, SharePoint, SQL, and the other examples on the screen. Now I'm going to pass it over to Kyle, who's going to talk a little bit about app promotion.
Thank you, Felipe. Thanks for that brief overview of Fliplet. So app launch and promotion. What I'm going to start talking about, first of all, is sort of how to do your app marketing. And this is something that we're consciously trying to improve the service and develop both the tools we have to support our clients in marketing and engagement with their applications throughout this year and ongoing. So app marketing can be done through a systematic approach that aligns your app goals really with the target audience and your unique selling points or the features or benefits they're getting from that application. So a general guide is you want to identify your target audience, understand who potential users are and what they need or what they want or what they're going to get from your application. From there, we always encourage clients to set clear goals or KPIs. What metrics essentially are you going to use to measure success? How are you going to define success? Whether it's downloads, it's certain engagement with different screens or functionality within your application. Is it revenue generating? Is it generating leads? Whatever it might be. Let's understand what those KPIs are, clear goals for your app. From there, we can go on to develop a marketing plan. And from that, we really want to create a comprehensive plan that includes various stages like ASO, social media marketing, content marketing, could be paid advertising. We'll come on to those things in a few slides' time. But once you've marketed your app, you want to make sure that you've got engaging content within your app. Felipe touched on that on the previous slide. You want to develop those compelling visuals, the descriptions, videos, articles that resonate with your audience. They're going to bring them to your application and make them want to engage with it. Felipe mentioned our analytics functionality. What do we want to do? We want to monitor and analyze the analytics tool so we can track the performance of the application and understand what's working and what needs improvement. And that's talking back to the sort of goals or the KPIs, the metrics that I mentioned a minute or so ago. What that allows us to do, that analytics, is iterate and optimize on your application. So continuously test and refine your strategies for marketing the app, but also the app itself and the content within it. And we can learn from the successes that we have and the failures. And I'll talk about some of the successful things that clients have adopted or tried in the past that is something for you to think about with your application. And then finally is make sure that there's a really strong or excellent customer support service sitting behind your application. So once you have engaged with the user and you've got them using the application, if they need to use your support channels or they've got feedback or they want to review the application, you want to make sure that you're listening to them and you're giving them a vehicle to be able to do that and you can respond to it in a timely fashion, depending on the app use case. But by following these guidelines and being super responsive to the changing sort of app environment or the needs of your users, app marketing can be a really powerful way to grow your app's user base and achieve long-term success with your application. So again, with launching your app, we want to have a look at some of the techniques or approaches that you want to take when marketing your application. So the best strategies involve a combination of methods that are tailored to reach your target audience in different ways and achieve the specific goals that you have for your app. So a few key strategies include ASO, so App Store Optimization. So make sure that you're optimizing your App Store listings with relevant keywords, engaging visuals, the right descriptions to enhance the visibility of your app, particularly if it's a public-facing app. So if it's an internal-facing application with your staff, then it's more around internal comms and emails, etc. And we'll come to that in a moment. Think about leveraging social media promotion, and that includes LinkedIn. So if you can leverage platforms like Instagram, Twitter, feeds that you might have that support the area that the app services, and your LinkedIn groups, really leverage them to promote the app and engage with your potential users. And I'll come on to some success stories that we've had with clients that have done that really well recently. Think about your content marketing. If you're creating that valuable content, such as blog posts, videos, podcasts, that educate and inform your users, make sure that when you're talking about these things and you're announcing new releases, that you're using that opportunity to promote your application at the same time. Again, I'll come on to that in a minute. You might want to look at paid advertising depending on the audience of your application. So you can run targeted ads on platforms like Google Ads, Facebook ads, etc. Think about your user engagement and retention. So by implementing your in-app analytics and feedback loops within your applications, you can really understand your user behavior and use that to continuously improve the app. We'll come on to feedbacks and surveys a little later in this webinar. So we're going to look here at some, I suppose, supporting ideas for launching your app, things that have worked well for clients in the past. Videos are really strong. So you can embed your videos into web pages or social posts. And those videos can be, one of two things mainly. First of which is think about having a video that maybe demos the app, 30 seconds or so, showing some screenshots, maybe running through the sort of user flow within the application. And you could have somebody narrating over the top of that or some text. And then the other thing that works really well is having a key stakeholder or a respected member of that particular industry community or your service area, whatever it might be, talking about the application and how beneficial it is to them and how it might benefit the people that use them. I mentioned social media posts. I think these are really, really powerful in terms of their impact on your user base. So I had a client that used LinkedIn posts. So they were already posting about new podcasts that were being released, but they were never mentioning the application where you could listen to podcasts. They started to do that and saw a 3x increase in the downloads when a link to the app, to download the app, was attached to other announcements around those podcasts. So really simple and easy thing to do, low resource demand, but put it in there. Think about the areas where you could be talking about the app that's going to encourage people to download and interact with it. Internally, you might want to look at website or internet posts. How do you engage with your staff at the moment? Which avenues do you use to communicate with them and make sure that you've got enough, exposure or awareness of the application on those mediums. Training manuals or user guides are really, really helpful, particularly if your app is implementing a new process or it's being used to drive process efficiencies or changes to a process maybe. It was going to be new to that user base. So a quick training manual that could be a document, it could be a video or a user guide can be really helpful to onboard your users. Press releases, and I'd also bundle in sort of award nominations with press releases because we've worked with some clients on award nominations and had some applications that have won awards also. Think about, are there industry blogs, news sites, groups, etc., where you might be able to promote your application? Again, assuming it's public facing or external. FAQs, really important. Again, you can empower people to self-serve and stop them from sort of coming into your app, getting a bit lost, not sure what to do. Slide decks, like the one we're using today, could be a good medium for you. Maybe is slightly outdated and you're probably putting a lot of onus on the user to self-serve using slide decks, but it is an option. But really make sure you've got an onboarding plan. So make sure you understand how you're going to get a user from downloading the application onto their mobile phone or accessing the web application from there until utilizing and finding benefit from the app. That's the key thing. So what have we been doing at Fliplet to help you with your marketing? We've created this Fliplet AI tool, which is an app promotional content generator. There's a URL there that you can see on the slide, and this is a screen grab of the form. As you can see, it's a really quick and easy form. And this AI-powered tool can be used to generate app promotional material for social media posts, for emails, internal company messages, app store listings. It's secure. You just set up your account with your own login details, and then you can get started. So as you can see from the form, you pick the stage that you're going to market the app at. Effectively, is it to the pilot group? Is it at launch? Is it post-launch? So continuous engagement. Put the name of the application in there, a brief description, some of the benefits and features, key benefits and features, how the app is available. So is it internal only? Is it on the app stores? You can put links in there. Is it via a web link? You can put that URL in there. A call to action, and then the type of messaging that you want to generate. So you can see here there's social media posts, which includes LinkedIn, emails, internal messaging, or your app store listing. Again, trying to take away some of that heavy lifting. And then what you'll have once you hit the submit button is 3 or 4 different examples of the different type of content that you've asked the tool to generate. So on the left there, you can see an example of an email that we've asked it to generate. And on the right-hand side, you can see an example of a social media post that's got hashtags and emojis and those sorts of things in. And what we've found with clients' feedback so far is that, yes, you might want to edit this. You might take some of the body of it, of the content, but you might want to change it. That's absolutely fine. I think the thing that we found is, the cognitive sort of load or demand on someone to write everything from scratch can be time consuming. You might not prioritize it, but if you can use this tool and then you just need to make a few tweaks, it can really speed up that process. And if you're not in marketing, but you want to help promote your app, or you're the app stakeholder and main owner of the application, and you want to market it out to your client base, then this can help you do that. Not everyone is an expert in marketing. I'm certainly not. I use this quite a lot as it happens internally. So we'd encourage you to go and play with this tool, even if you've not got something to promote right at this moment in time. There is a feedback loop in there. So if you play with it and you think, this is really helpful, this email, but I'd like it to have the option to put an image in there, for example, then use the feedback form in the tool and please let us know, because we would encourage any feedback so we can keep iterating and improve that tool for you. So engagement and feedback. This is something I touched on earlier on, excuse me. And we're going to look at engagement to start off with. Engagement's really, really important with your application, because once you've spent the time building your app and then you've launched your application and you're marketing it out to your user audience, how are you going to make sure that they're engaged, the experience of using the app is good, they're getting the content or the information, or it's improving the process or whatever your app does that suits their needs. So some things to think about here, definitely, and we can help you with this. Please reach out to your account manager if you want to talk through them. I'd start off by talking about gamification. So if you want to make your app sticky, use gamification. It's a proven engagement strategy that makes the UX, CX fun, easy to use. And the gamification really hooks users by incentivizing the sort of, mobile app engagement with interactive features such as challenges, progressions, achievement systems like badges. It could be leaderboards. And in short, there's 4 big mechanics that sort of sit behind gamification. One is a competitive sort of UX. So having that vehicle for people to have a sense of achievement is really helpful. You want to have progress that's clear and visible, so that sort of fulfills the user's need for growth, if you like. Think about rewards for participation, and I'll come on to that in a few minutes' time. And make sure that it's it's simple. The simplicity, winning's easy to understand. It can be tricky with gamification, but we can help you, as I say, with ideas around the features that are right for your app and for your audience. It could be bookmarking, liking, comments. I mentioned leaderboards, badges, achievements. It could be something else. So, if you are thinking about how you can get your user audience to be more engaged with your application, reach out to us and we can talk to you about the features and functionality that might help you. Onboarding, I mentioned having an onboarding plan. I think the biggest drop-off in user engagement happens during onboarding, right? So we see clients that have a lot of downloads, but maybe not registrations. So every added step as part of your onboarding process results in a 20% increase in user churn. So we want to make that as minimal as possible, but obviously you will have either security that you need to go through, or you might want people to register, etc. So for a more effective onboarding, I think keep tutorials in the app to a minimum to demonstrate the value proposition as quickly as possible. But ask yourself, like for a marketing or a BD app, for example, for public use, do you really need a registration screen? Because that might be putting users off. You could capture user information in another way. If it's only to capture who's using your app, maybe we do that using the forms. There's other things to look at. Definitely think about social features. So it could be a Twitter/X feed and the ability to share content on socials, which is obviously going to broaden the reach of the content within your applications. If people are sharing that for you, they're kind of doing some marketing for you. But it could be about making your app more social in its user experience as well. So could you add like posts or news with features that encourages a community aspect to the app, so users can network and share thoughts and ideas and have those discussions using the forum functionality. Think about competitive features. I mentioned it earlier on. a leaderboard could be a really excellent way to engage your audience. So rewarding points or badges for certain activities. And we've seen this work really well, particularly on event applications, where I did have a client that created a huge buzz at a 3-day event, with the attendees sort of scrambling to climb that leaderboard, beat their colleagues, get above them in the leaderboard. So it could be a really good way to get people to undertake certain activities or actions either at the event or in your application. And it could be linked to incentives or prizes. So incentives and prizes is a delicate one for you. I think, you have budget concerns and all those sorts of things, but they can be used to drive adoption and engagement during your launch, or whilst you're running a specific event or campaign within the app. And we've seen this work really well with things like lead generation in BD apps, to drive downloads, registrations, encourage survey responses, and those sorts of things. And it brings to mind one client that attended an event in a certain industry area, and as part of their booth approach, they were asking attendees to download their application. If they did at that point in time and registered, then they earned I think it was a $5 sort of coffee voucher. So relatively small in terms of like a marketing cost for acquiring leads, etc. But something to think about if you've got a budget, how you might be able to utilize that to leverage engagement with your application. Support and FAQs I touched on earlier, and then surveys. So surveys are really key to sort of continue the development of your app, to make enhancements to it. You want to listen to your audience, continuously drive improvements within your app, deliver the content, the functionality, or the experience that they require. So you should look to make enhancements, even small ones, to your app probably every 6 months, and we'll touch on that in a little bit too. Notifications. So what are notifications? I'm sure you're all aware, and you use a news app or a retail or a commerce app where you get notifications popping up on your phone, making you aware of a sale or a breaking news story. But they're effectively messages or alerts that are sent from your app to your users. So there's 2 different types of notifications. There's in-app and push notifications, and they can be used together or separately. And the notification will automatically be sent as a web notification to users' browsers if they've allowed that as well, if they've got the permissions. So a quick note, in-app notifications require adding an inbox component to the app screen, where you would want notifications to appear. And the publish notifications are displayed on the component for users to view. For push notifications, you have to configure your app to ask users for permission. I'm sure you've all experienced that when downloading a new app, to send notifications to their devices. And we can talk to you about approaches there too. You must also publish the app to the app stores with certain push notification requirements, but we don't want to get into that too much. But we have seen push notifications really drive the engagement of applications, unsurprisingly. The client I was working with recently started using notifications after about 6 months of launching their app, when engagement wasn't quite where they expected it to be. So they used them to communicate app updates, effectively when new content was added on a rolling weekly basis. And in the first week, they saw a 300% increase in usage or engagement after that first notification. The second one, following week, was like 240%. And then it settled across the next month at an average figure of about 160% increase. So you can see how effective notifications are, because they remind people to come back into your application. There's a few things to consider. So timing, use notifications at the right time to get your users to engage with useful and important content, and don't spam people. And then think about ad hoc versus scheduled. You can pre-schedule notifications, or you can send them ad hoc if you've got sort of breaking news. That's enough from me. I'm going to pass you over to Felipe, who's going to quickly talk through app reviews.
So app reviews, as an account manager, I do them often with my clients, and I'm going to run you through some of the benefits. Basically, what the main benefit is to understand what is working and what needs to be changed within an app. And the process is very simple. We connect with you, we discuss the original plan of the app, and also discuss any new use cases or ideas that might come up. And based on that, we also take a deep dive into the analytics and, basically look at the performance of the app overall since it was published. We look at what's interesting to your clients, what's been creating the peaks in usage, and also build a couple of recommendations for you. Once we agree on the recommendations, we actually help you move forward with the plan and create the necessary steps to create the changes that are going to keep that engagement coming back to the app. Now I'm going to go through some questions here that we've received. Give me 1 second to pull them up. The first one I see here, what's the most powerful feature to engage your audience? Basically, the short answer to that is they're all very powerful. They need to be used regularly. In my experience, gamification, like Kyle said, is key. People like to get rewarded. We all like to get rewarded. So make sure you're rewarding, your users for saving posts, liking posts, commenting, anything that is interaction should be. I mean, if you're looking into gamification, that should be an option to give people rewards. Setting up an easy way for your users to interact with you and with each other. A great example is a discussion board, right? Allow your users to post questions, share best practices, share experiences. This makes them feel part of the app, and it becomes more of a resource than an app, which is ultimately what you actually want. You want them looking at your app every single day, or at least using it very regularly. Finally, like Kyle said, sending out notifications is very, very key. Scheduled notifications are always better because you don't have to keep track of what's happening. You set them up. As long as new content is published, you send out a notification. Maybe send a reminder about that content that was published before. If anything interesting or events are coming up, let your people know. Get the word out there as much as you can so that your app stays as relevant as it needs to be. Second question, how do we set up an app review? That's very, very simple. You basically contact your account manager and we set up a time to go through the details with you. We will take time ourselves to do a review before meeting with you, of course, so that we can prepare with some recommendations for you. But it's very simple. Just reach out to your account manager. How often do you do an app review? Like Kyle said, basically you want to be gauging that interest. So make sure surveys are sent out at least every 6 months. If you put something new on the app, give it time to mature, but definitely send out a survey to see if that's working or not. Keep track of your analytics. Make sure you're checking that as well. But a formal app review should be done every 12 months or so. I'm going to pass it over to Kyle now. We're going to talk about case studies and upcoming events.
Thank you, Felipe. So obviously you've heard a lot from employees of Fliplet across this webinar, but I encourage you to go and read some of the case studies. You can see a URL there on the screen and some of the clients that we work with. Case studies are either written text or there's some video interviews as well. So please go on and read about how clients have benefited from applications and maybe some of the marketing and promotion and communication tools they've used to achieve that success. And then lastly from us, just a quick reminder of our upcoming webinars. So next Wednesday, the 13th, we've got our directory solution webinar. The following Wednesday, the 20th, we've got the 5th in our series of AI webinars. I think it's 5th so far this year. So this is AI to the max, Fliplet's latest AI features for your applications. Following Wednesday, it's a busy month for us on webinars. We've got the 2023 Legal Apps Report on the 27th. And then coming up in November, we'll tell you way ahead of time, is our summit, our Q4 Summit 2023. So this is a whole bunch of sessions. There is an update from our CEO, or keynote from our CEO. We'll have product demos as part of that summit. We'll also have a product roadmap and InfoSec, and I'm probably forgetting session. But yeah, the link's there. Please go and register for anything that you think will be interesting to you. Even if you can't make it, you'll get the recording sent through. Share it with your colleagues. We'd really appreciate it and hope to see you there. Finally, just to thank you for joining us. Recording for this webinar will be available very soon. If you've got any questions, please reach out to us, reach out to your AM, and we'll happily go through anything regarding app promotion, launching, engagement, notifications, app reviews, and that's it. So thanks for joining us again and hope to see you on the next one. Bye.